Fantastic. Okay, Nick, the first question I had for you, when Sir Chris Bryant was talking, he said at the end basically that the target is to get 50 million visitors per year by 2050. That sounds very ambitious. I think you're around 38 million at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's we're 38.5 million visitors. So you are talking about a 25% uplift to do that. Look, it's ambitious. I don't think we should apologise for ambition. I think it's the right thing to do. And in many ways, what we're doing here at Trade Engagement, I think, is the route to success. There's an awful lot of people in the industry who are joining us from around the world here, from literally the four corners of the world. And they are our route to drive more visitors here. So when people are coming to showcase Britain, for example, or when I go on trade missions, as I was in Australia back in September, it's a two-way process. We learn from those people what we need to do to help make people decide to come now to Britain, and vice versa, they learn about our offer. Why is that important? Because we know the appetite to come here, Arvin, is high. The challenge is to convert that appetite to now, and we've got until 2030 to do that, to hit the minister's target of 50 million.
Okay, you recently visited Australia. What did you learn from that trip? And what are some of the things you're planning to do to target more Aussies to come and visit Britain, especially at a time when people are struggling with things like the cost of living crisis, soaring inflation, all those other things?
Yeah, look, a great question. Well, first of all, there is a huge appetite already in Australia for people to come and visit the UK. Our strong family, our strong heritage, those ties go back a long, long way. And that's why I'm fairly confident that we've seen good growth already. We're now at 1.25 million as the prediction for 2025, the year that we're in number of visits. And as you've noted, that spend is going to be a record spend of 1.7 billion in 2025. So what else is going to help define that? Well, first of all, I think what I learned, to answer your first point, is I learned how crucial the relationship with the trade and the travel agent, the tour operator is in Australia. It's an exceptionally close relationship. So the work we've been doing in trade engagement, I think we continue and we up our game. The second thing is we want to drive that motivation. We want to capture that wish to come to our country and convert it into the now. And Starring Great Britain, the new campaign that we've launched, I think is going to be, well, I hope it will be Visit Britain's finest achievement for some considerable time, because it is using film and TV screen as a hook to drive that motivation for visitors from Australia to come and put themselves literally in the picture of great films where they were shot, and key in parts of Britain that they might not normally think about going. This campaign is going to help us reach that 50 million.
Yeah, that was sort of leading into my next question. A lot of Australians have, of course, visited Britain before. A lot of them will have seen all the iconic sites that we all know and love. I guess the challenge for people like Visit Britain, like yourselves, is to try and get them to see some of those hidden gems. And you've chosen to use film almost as sort of a selling point or a vehicle to get them to come and see different corners of the country. How confident are you that that's going to work as a hook to attract Aussies to come to some of these lesser known parts of the UK that are stunningly beautiful, but probably not something they would previously consider?
Well, I think that's again, it's absolutely spot on question. And the reason I'm so confident about this is that when surveyed by Visit Britain, there was an 87%, I'll have that figure checked, but it's definitely close to that, 87% of those Australians who were surveyed want to visit some of those locations. Okay, now when I say some of those locations, we're not just talking about one or two. In the UK last year, more films were produced here and shot here than in Hollywood. That just shows you how many places there are to choose from. And the fantastic thing about this is where they are shot. So this summer I'm going up to Northumberland for a week, and I'll be going to Alnwick Castle, for example, where I'll be able to learn to ride my broomstick, which is all to do with Harry Potter. But there's the places that have been used, you know, they are quite literally all over the country. And you'd be hard pressed not to be in a county somewhere in the United Kingdom where a film has not been shot. So we're going to link that, really shamelessly link that with TV and film, as you would have seen in the preview, and evolve that through all the key media that you would expect us to do. And the final answer to your question, Australia is one of those markets. We're doing it. We're launching the paid campaign in 5 key markets. Australia is one of those. So I'm hoping to smash the figures that we've set and make a good inroad in getting towards our 50 million, which is a stretch target. I don't pretend otherwise.
Okay, really interesting that you've gone down the film route. When you think about the UK, and when, you know, since I've been here with a group of Australian agents, we've done a couple of tours around London to some of the lesser known spots and just learnt about some of the fascinating history. There are so many different ways you can sell the UK and different parts of the UK other than film. Sport is another good example. You know, the Premier League is arguably one of the most popular.
We're not going to talk rugby now, are we?
Look, we can go to that path in a second. I thought you would anyway. But what I'm trying to get at is there are so many different ways you can sell the UK. You've chosen to go down the film path. Why not also use some of these other ways? History, sport, music, art, all those wonderful things that the UK is famous for.
Yeah, no, outdoor festivals you mentioned. We're having record volumes of people coming to attend outdoor music festivals. You're quite right to do that. And I think you will see during this trip, this showcase trip, if you haven't seen it already, that whilst everywhere people will be going on these familiarisation trips, these educational trips, if you like, for the trade, we'll be seeing links to films wherever they go. We're also looking at the kind of fresh and exciting product offerings that are out there. I think it's important to recognise that there's multiple reasons why people want to come to this country. A lot of people want to come, as you say, for the heritage, for the culture, the astonishing sort of tourist attractions, which will be captured in many of these films where they are used as backdrops that we saw earlier. But you're quite right. The appetite, particularly, I would say it's possibly cross-generational, but a lot of younger people will be looking to do many of these other things that you've talked about. And they will feature, as always, in our product development, with our work at presenting what those products are, what engagement is available. You know, the Premier League, they come to every showcase, trade mission that I've led during my time as chairman of Visit Britain. That work is continuing. But what we are crystallising with Starring Great Britain is we're capitalising on that nearly 9 out of 10 people would love to visit some of the locations seen on film. Do you know, at the same time, they'll be going, if they go and look at some of the films, they'll be popping across to Anfield in Liverpool to watch the greatest football club that you know, and they'll be doing their tickets there, just as they will be if they're in some of the music seasons going to see the music festivals.
So you mentioned that 2025, it looks like visits, or you're sort of forecasting visits will be up from Australia, and also expenditure. I'm just curious, do you have any sort of insight into sort of length of stay and those other metrics that you look at?
Yeah, I mean, look, I say this unashamedly. I love Australians for all sorts of reasons, but when we're talking in this context, it's because they stay longer than pretty much anyone else. I think it's 14 nights is their average. They do spend more, over twice. I think the average spend, if you put them all together, is about £820. Australia is, I think it's at 1,169, something like that. I'll just check that figure in a minute for you. So they are spending more and they're staying longer. But already, what is most striking, and this I think is because of the friends and family links, unlike many of our visitors, there is a higher proportion of Australians who go into the regions and nations of Great Britain already. I think it's about 72% of visitors will actually go outside of London, which is an amazing city. Obviously, it has huge appeal. But because of the friends and family link, people will go to other parts of the world, and they behave like tourists when they're there. They want to go and see things. They want to enjoy what's on offer, be it the tourist attractions, be it the entertainment or the experiences that are there.
Okay. In terms of looking ahead, especially with your campaign, we've spoken a little bit about Australia and how you're targeting 5 key markets. I'm just wondering, to reach that 50 million visitor mark, it sounds like you might need to go to more than 5 key markets. How are you planning to target some of those other markets to attract newer types of travellers to the UK that previously wouldn't come here?
Well, just as one of the reasons we are using the film and television media, the screen, if you like, for this campaign, one of the reasons we're doing that is because of the huge reach now that streaming is an everyday part of people's lives. It's not like those old days that I'm probably the only one in this room that would remember, where there are a limited number of channels. You have people both picking up on multiple streams all the films and TV series that we're talking about, and they're literally watching them on all sorts of different devices as well. So what we will be doing is encouraging also people to share their experiences on these locations. We are going to have a very strong social media presence, first of all, in those markets, many of which are here today at Showcase Britain, to utilise the power of social media to capture images that people will want to click on and see. What you saw today, of course, was the full 4.5 minutes, if you like, of content that we've got now. You're going to see these presented in targeted clips in areas where they'll have the most impact, used out on social media and promoted heavily. So that'll be one of the things. Then we have to back that up, and we're talking about the outside of the current 5 key markets where the campaign is going. We're then going to be backing that up with obviously continuing both the educational and trade missions and trade engagement in those countries. Because trade engagement goes far beyond what we're doing here. Trade engagement is what is going on in those countries literally all the time. In Australia, for example, we've been out to something like 600 travel agents where we are doing joint educational programs to make people aware of the latest developments in the country, latest product offerings. We do that in all of the key markets that we operate in, way beyond those 5, in fact, pretty much in 22 markets around the world.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions.
Sure.
The first one
Can
is...
I correct that figure I gave you, by the way? It's £1,367, which is the average spend of the Aussies, which is why we love you so much.
Fantastic. A couple more questions. When I'm speaking to some of my colleagues in the travel sector in Australia, and I ask them about what are some of the major challenges when it comes to getting Aussies to visit Britain, the number one concern or challenge that they note is the perception that visiting the UK is more expensive than what it might be visiting Asia, for example. What is your response to that? Do you think that the UK has a slight perception problem in terms of cost or value versus some of these other markets? And what would you say to Aussies who might have that perception?
Well, the first thing I would say is, and I think this is entirely logical, when you do make that long journey from Australia to Britain, I think the longer the stay drives greater value and actually, if you like, offers that exceptional return because it's worthwhile coming for that longer time. I also think it's very clear we've developed product in the UK that actually is aimed at all budgets, and I think this is a really important point, and that becomes even more evident when you are in the regions as well. So yes, look, I think there are many perception issues with Britain, and our job is to fill those gaps and explain, and if you like, explain what is the reality or acknowledge what is accurate. So, for example, there will be many people who will tell you perhaps not so much from Australia, that really their visit to England is a visit to London. Well, we've been working very hard to illustrate and demonstrate why that is not true, and actually, for example, how easy it is to get around what is a small island, after all. You're 2.5 hours away from Liverpool, for example, Manchester, Newcastle even, by train from London, and the train service is very well regarded. We Brits love to moan about our own train service, but I've been talking to people today who are saying that that travel within the United Kingdom makes a huge difference, and that is why I think we can move on perceptions about London and so forth. I think cost is the sort of issue that could be wrapped up with welcome as well, the end-to-end experience. And yes, of course, we think we do understand that pricing is always going to be a huge factor when coming away on holiday, wherever you may go. But actually, the answer for us is to make sure that we have the product available for people to be able to enjoy both what they do here and where they stay, whatever their budget. And I think the proof will be in the pudding in that, and we're seeing it still with the increased numbers of visitors coming here.
Okay. What would be your message, your key message to Aussie travellers and also to the Aussie travel sector?
Well, first of all, with the Australian travel sector, I'm very keen to do more of what we're doing now. Our trade engagement is not just for today or for tomorrow, it's very long term. And we will respond to you, what you tell us. And I've just had a very good working round table, listening to direct input, feedback, what we're doing right, what we could try and do better, and what our competitors are doing. So we're going to maintain that. We're in it for life. And that is going to be our ongoing relationship. To the customer and who's actually coming on the trip, I would say that there is so much more to Britain in our offer, and I'm delighted that this campaign will start to show what that offer is. There's some amazing, I could sit here now for 10 minutes and tell you reasons to visit Britain, and including in that, for example, no, I know this isn't particularly keen for all Australians, but it's quite unique. Wherever you stand in this country, you are no more than 75 miles away from the coastline. So if you don't see much coastline, okay, lots of Aussies do live on the coastline, I understand that, then you can come here. But you're going to see a very diverse coastline, for example. You've got the wilds of Northumberland, which has the beautiful city of Durham in it. And at the same time, you've got amazing tourist attractions like Alnwick Castle. So it's the diversity of our offer. You can explore our cultural offering, a very diverse cultural offering, and enjoy, let's be honest, probably the best hospitality in the world when you come here. The dimensions that you see on the screen will all be reflected. And you know what? You can even come here and enjoy some good rugby if you don't mind watching England win.
Okay, fantastic. Nick, I just wanted to ask one final thing. If you weren't British, which other nationality would you like to be?
Yeah, no, I make no secret about this, actually. I said it when I was over there in October 2024. I'm very proud of my country. I love Britain. I love what we do. But if I was to go back and be reborn, and they said, you can't be a Brit, I'd say, do you know what? I'd love to be an Aussie.
Fantastic. Aussie Nick, thank you so much for talking to Travel Weekly.
There you go. Thank you very much.